What's up guys, June here, and what even is balancing, to be honest? If you haven't been following the trend of what's going on with Invention and the recent changes, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but things have gotten kind of shitty. Just for some background that wasn't discussed in my previous two videos, basically the strategy was, once you hit 49 Invention, there was only one item that gave you a really appreciable difference in the amount of XP you gain, and that was explosive components, which were exclusively available from hand cannons. Now obviously hand cannons only have one way of entering the game, and it's a relatively bottlenecked situation, so when you're talking about having a brand new skill with thousands and thousands of players all trying to power level simultaneously, you're going to deplete the source of that very quickly, and thus hand cannons rose up to over 1 mil for quite a while. The worst part of this is that switching to the hand cannons more than quintupled the amount of experience that you gain, so if you were able to dump huge amounts of money onto Invention, you were able to exceedingly speed up your XP gains. There was also some other high-level equipment like tier 90 shields, which when disassembled gave components like undead components, which could be used to get over 35,000 experience per gizmo. The inevitable result of this, of course, means that a few really rich players were able to blast their way up to 99 in record time. I believe this is the fastest 99 of any skill on release in the history of RuneScape. And consequently, jagex made a bunch of wide-sweeping nerfs. First of all, they reduced the amount of experience that you get from explosive components, and they reduced the amount of undead components that you get from tier 90 shields. However, they went beyond this, and they also reduced the amount of experience that you get from making gizmos with uncommon components, which was already a very sluggish way to train, and they reduced the amount of materials that you get from using unstrung longbows. So for whatever reason, they decided to cripple what was already a slow, albeit somewhat less expensive way to train, and that is of course the same strategy that I was discussing in the previous videos, which is hanging out at the White Knight shop and disassembling things to make gizmos and fill with precise perks. However, on the flip side, they also buffed the amount of experience that you get from disassembling a weapon that you've augmented and then leveled up. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, this is great. It was a little bit odd when Invention came out that this wasn't a primary way to train, because it seemed like this would be the alternative for people who weren't able to dump huge amounts of money into the skill, and it also felt like a more comfortable and interesting way to train the skill. So in order to be a remotely viable way of training, they would have needed to increase the experience from this strategy by 5 to 10 times what it currently was, and for God knows what reason, they increased it by 25%, and all I can say is I have absolutely no clue what jagex thinks they're doing. The balancing in this is absolutely the worst that I have seen from jagex, and that is something to be said. It's no secret that jagex has kind of a poor reputation for their QA testing and their balancing in general, but this is really taking it to the next level. Not only did their lack of QA testing give some players who had wealth on hand a huge advantage and allow them to skyrocket so far ahead of everyone else that they'd never be able to catch up, effectively destroying the natural high scores race that always occurs whenever a new skill is released. Their follow-up attempt to balance it out crippled lower level, less wealthy players far more than it did the wealthy players in the first place. At this point, Invention is unfortunately looking like the skill version of Metamorphosis, with jagex rebalancing it in a newly poor way every 5 minutes. So what does this mean for us as we progress with our training of Invention? Unfortunately, it looks like our strategy for buying out the White Knight shop stock is going to be extended to a much higher level than was expected, and also, for some reason, they decided to make it slower. So I will be here for a while. Hopefully jagex revisits the balancing on this and tries to get a little bit of an improvement. I really hope. I'll try not to get my hopes up, but there is a lot of really great and competent advice being given on the Reddit and on the suggestions forums regarding this, so hopefully jagex will take a little bit of advice from the players and make some important changes, especially to increasing the XP from disassembling augmented and leveled items, because I really want to see that be a primary way of training this skill. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, and I'm also sorry for the negative tone in this video, but this is what we're dealing with at the moment, so I'll see you guys soon.